Hey guys, Aaron CybertronVGC here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Regulation G VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'll be showcasing one of the strongest strategies in VGC right now in Calyrex Ice Rider Hard Trick Room. This strategy has been super dominant in in-person tournaments in the month of March alone. It got second at the Vancouver Regional Championships, first at the Stockholm Regional Championships, and first at the Brisbane Regional Championships. And those were basically all back-to-back-to-back majors, all in different regions as well. This is still not one of the most common strategies in VGC, and it's been, I'd say, actually relatively underplayed, but for it to do so well at 3 majors consecutively means you really should be paying attention to it. The idea is simple. You set up Trick Room, and then you use really powerful attackers like Calyrex Ice Rider, Choice Specs Torkoal, as well as Choice Band Urshifu to sweep under Trick Room. The team that we'll be featuring was built by Michael Kelsch, World's finalist and World semifinalist, and he won Stockholm Regionals with it. But point is, Hard Trick Room is so good right now, and if you're looking for a team to just climb the ladder with quickly, and a team that can feel fairly straightforward in terms of how it plays, but it feels really powerful, then I highly recommend this team and this strategy. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. If you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there's also an accompanying PokePaste down in the description below. This team was developed by Michael Kelsch as well as a couple of his friends, and it's a Hard Trick Room team. The idea is simple. You set up Trick Room, you get your sweepers like Torkoal and Urshifu out under Trick Room next to Calyrex Ice Rider, and you spam your most powerful moves like Choice Specs Fire Terra Eruption as well as Choice Band Wicked Blow from Urshifu. Smeargle and Indeedee are designed to help you set up Trick Room, so you can lead Smeargle Calyrex or Indeedee Calyrex most of the time to get that Trick Room up, and then the goal is to win the game as quickly as possible once you have set up that Trick Room. Michael has posted a in-depth team report and tournament report for this team after he won Stockholm Regionals, so I'll link that down in the description below as well if you want to check it out. Overall, this is just an incredibly powerful team that can win games really quickly and has a lot of pure offense, but also allows for some fairly straightforward playing in terms of lead combinations. And so I think it is a really good team, especially if you are just trying out Regulation G right now, or maybe want to get to Master Ball tier, for example, as the format concludes. I really recommend this one. For some quick context, this team won the Stockholm Regional Championships over in Sweden towards the end of March 2025. This tournament had over 300 players competing in the Masters division, and Michael Kelsch won the entire tournament, defeating Eric Rios, one of the greatest players of all time from Europe, in the finals. Michael won his second regional championship by this victory, and he also successfully defended his title after winning Stockholm Regionals just the year before as well, which I think is really cool. Michael has been one of the most incredible VGC prodigies to really touch the game. He only started playing a couple of seasons ago, and now has already gotten second at Worlds, third at Worlds, and also has won 2 regional championships. What's really interesting is that Michael basically used Zamazenta the entire Regulation G format, bringing it to Worlds as well as EUIC, but finally dropped it, switched to Calyrex Ice Rider Hard Trick Room, and then won regionals with it immediately. What's also really interesting is that Calyrex Ice Rider Hard Trick Room is not actually a very popular strategy in this format, despite it getting top 8 at Worlds. If you look at a lot of the top teams from these events, it's not really super common. However, it's been doing super well. At Vancouver Regionals, just 2 weekends before Stockholm, it actually ended up finishing in 2nd place here, featuring Pokemon like Gallade as well as Hatterene. And then just 1 weekend after Stockholm, over in Australia, it won a regional championship piloted by Dialga-O. Dialga-O has actually been the premier Hard Trick Room Calyrex Ice Rider player, getting top 8 at Worlds with a similar composition as well. So it's really cool to see him claim a regionals win with this composition. But what's really interesting is that even though all of these teams have a similar core, you've got the Calyrex Ice Rider, for example, you've got the Indeedee, you've got the Torkoal as well. The remaining support can be actually pretty different, with Gallade and Hatterene featured here, and Grass Ogerpon and Ursaluna featured here. So there's actually a lot of different ways that you can run this archetype as well, even though a lot of the fundamental Pokemon are the same. And so, yeah, even though Hard Trick Room hasn't been like the most popular strategy in this format, I think the fact that it's made literally 3 consecutive major finals and has won 2 regionals back to back shows you just how powerful of a strategy it is. And as we wrap up Regulation G, this should be easily one of the top archetypes that you look to beat and counter, because when it has this much success in so many events in a row, you really should pay attention to it. Breaking down the team, the first Pokemon I want to talk about is Smeargle, which I think is low-key the MVP of this team. Question of the day, by the way, with Reg I now announced, I want to know what duo you're excited to try out down in the comment section below. I'm really excited to dive into the new regulation and super pumped to make content for all of you, but of course, we still have a couple of weeks of Reg G left, and I want to feature some fun and powerful teams as we wrap up this format. Now, Smeargle, I think, is incredible on this team because it enables Calyrex Ice Rider. Part of what makes this really hard to deal with is Smeargle plus Ice Rider has so many different moves it can go for on turn 1 as a lead combination. For example, you can Fake Out into Trick Room, you can Follow Me into Trick Room, you can Spore and Protect, and you can go for something like Decorate into attacking immediately. There are so many different combos that you have to respect with this lead combo, and it's really hard to cover for all of them. Here, the Smeargle is going to be max speed, which is really helpful against opposing Fake Out users, and so you'll often have the faster Fake Out into Pokemon like Incineroar, Iron Hands, and Rillaboom. You also have the Focus Sash here, so you can tank a big attack. This often means you can, of course, redirect 2 attacks away from Ice Rider, sacrifice Smeargle, get Trick Room up, and then get Urshifu or Torkoal out under Trick Room and just absolutely dominate. Grass Terra here is going to be helpful to deal with opposing Amoonguses, for example. This also helps against Surging Strikes from Urshifu, and ultimately the Smeargle here is really designed to help enable Calyrex to set up that Trick Room and sweep as quickly as possible. This Smeargle is going to use Technician over Moody. You can use Moody, but it's just, of course, a ability that you can't really predict for. And sometimes you don't want Smeargle to, for example, eat up a speed drop when you are not setting up Trick Room immediately. And so Technician here, of course, gives you a stronger Fake Out, which I think is kind of funny as well. Of course, you're not doing the most amount of damage here with Smeargle, but you just don't really want to be running Moody. Smeargle here is primarily going to be led with the Calyrex Ice Rider. This Calyrex is pretty straightforward. The main thing to note here is you are Fire Terra and you have close combat instead of high horsepower. Fire Terra, really nice, of course, to deal with all the opposing fire type damage that you'll see in the format, and it also helps get around Will-O-Wisp from something like Incineroar. Close combat here is just a really powerful attack, and it is really nice for coverage into things like Steel types as well as, for example, Incineroar. Now, of course, you can run high horsepower, but close combat gives you a slightly stronger offensive attack and allows you to threaten with one-hit knockout sometimes, especially if you've gotten a little bit of chip damage from something like Glacial Lance. Otherwise, Calyrex Ice Rider here, fairly straightforward. It's going to be min speed, and like I mentioned, Smeargle Ice Rider, one of the best leads with this team. To round out the team, you've got Indeedee as support here. This Indeedee is going to be Fairy Terra, basically max HP, max defense, and it's going to be Rocky Helmet. So this is kind of your standard Indeedee set that you're going to want to run against opposing physical attackers, especially Water Urshifu. So this is really good if you see Water Urshifu on your opponent's team. You have a pretty standard moveset here. The main thing to note is that you, of course, do have that helping hand. So this is really nice because sometimes you'll have combos where you lead like Indeedee Calyrex and you just go Follow Me Trick Room into helping hand Glacial in subsequent turns. Fairy Terra gets around, of course, dark type damage from things like Dark Urshifu and Shampoo. Rocky Helmet just going to be a really strong bring into all of those physical attackers that exist in the format, allowing you to get damage and, of course, Breakthrough Focus Sash as well. You also have incredible offense from Choice Specs Torkoal here. This is your fairly standard Choice Specs Torkoal. Nothing to really note here other than that you have Eruption and Heat Wave, double fire type damage, Weather Ball, which allows for single type target fire damage, which is really valuable against wide guard users like Zamazenta, and Earth Power, which can be helpful in dealing with things that might resist your fire type damage like Incineroar or Raging Bolt in endgames where maybe you've taken some damage and you don't want to be clicking Eruption. Dark Urshifu also is on this team, and this is going to be a min speed or near min speed Dark Urshifu. You actually have a speed IV of 2 here. Now, with this Dark Urshifu, the idea is that Choice Band Wicked Blow is just incredible, right? Normally, when people play against Hard Trick Room, their way of handling it is to go for Protects. But, for example, you can often go with Calyrex Ice Rider Smeargle, you get Trick Room up, and then you lose your Smeargle, your Indeedee, and then you get Urshifu out under Trick Room immediately. Choice Band Wicked Blow under Trick Room is just such a nightmare to deal with, and you don't really need speed investment here because you're such a slow team anyway, so as a result, you can invest more in HP, allowing Urshifu to survive more attacks, which is really nice as well. The main thing to call out here is that you've got Grass Terra as well as Iron Head. Iron Head, you're really not going to be clicking that much, but this just gives you some coverage into potential fairy types and Terras that people might go for into your damage. And then the Grass Terra here is really valuable in annoying Amoongus. Amoongus otherwise is actually a pretty big problem if it goes for a defensive Terra, for example. But Grass Terra here allows you to just neutralize Amoongus and keep clicking Wicked Blow and ignore Rage Powder as well. Raging Bolt is the final Pokemon on this team, and this Raging Bolt is designed to, of course, just deal as much damage as possible with max special attack. You have safety goggles here. I was just talking about how Amoonguss is annoying, and so Grass Terra plus safety goggles here, plus Grass Terra and Smeargle, and having super effective damage from Ice Rider, Torkoal, and Indeedee all means that Amoonguss will feel a little bit more threatened. If you see Amoonguss on your opponent's team, you definitely should be thinking about bringing Raging Bolt, especially because you have the safety goggles. Otherwise, this Raging Bolt's designed to just really deal damage. A Draco Meteor in Photosynthesis max special attack, even without a booster energy or a life orb, will do a lot of damage. And then if that Photosynthesis, of course, is activated, then you don't need the booster energy. And since you have Torkoal on this team, Photosynthesis often will be activated. Otherwise, you've got Electric Terra Thunderclap as well as Electric Terra Thunderbolt just to maximize your damage output here. And this Raging Bolt is going to be helpful against opposing water types, for example, that might otherwise give Calyrex trouble. Kyogre is a good example. So you really want to bring Raging Bolt in those matchups. Otherwise, in terms of lead combinations, your goal often is to set up Trick Room. So part of what I think makes this team really powerful is you have two just very consistent lead combos, Smeargle Calyrex, Indeedee Calyrex, right? Both of these often will allow you to set up Trick Room and then play the game from there. So I'd say like these are by far your strongest lead combos. If you're going up against opposing hard Trick Room teams, for example, sometimes I like leading Smeargle Urshifu or Indeedee Urshifu to use Urshifu to just really break through my opponent's team. I think if you're not leading the Calyrex Ice Rider, you're probably going to want one of Indeedee and Smeargle and then one of the remaining. For example, maybe you can see a matchup where you think, okay, my opponent only has single target damage. I can just go Indeedee Torkoal and then go for like Follow Me Fire Terra Eruption and get a double knockout immediately. But generally, I'd say you have to be very careful if you are not leading Calyrex Ice Rider and setting up Trick Room because this team is so slow. It does rely often on Trick Room being set up. And so, you know, if you are leading something like Smeargle, Urshifu, Smeargle, Bolt, Smeargle, Torkoal, you have to have a lot of conviction in it. And so generally, I think, you know, if you're feeling stuck on what you might want to lead, I think like Smeargle Ice Rider, Indeedee plus Ice Rider are what I go with in like 90% plus of games that I played with this team. So yeah, that's it for a quick breakdown. In terms of weaknesses, a couple of things that you'll have to watch out for. Obviously, with it being a hard Trick Room team, you do have to be careful about either your Trick Room being denied or your Trick Room being reversed. So, for example, Imprison plus Trick Room can be annoying. A bulky Pokemon that can Terra defensively and then reverse Trick Room, like, for example, opposing Calyrex Ice Rider or Frigoraph with Water Terra can be kind of a nuisance. To deal with the Smeargle, Taunt is going to be one of your best ways because, of course, this doesn't really have any damage. So if you're able to keep it on the field and then taunt it and force a switch out, that can be really valuable. In addition, when you go up against a team like this, sometimes you might say, you know what, I can't deny the Trick Room, so playing smart around it can be helpful. What that means is sometimes not getting a knockout on turn one and denying the free switch-in for Smeargle or Indeedee to get Urshifu or Torkoal out. That can be really, really handy. Wide Guard can be pretty scary for this team because you've got Glacial Lance, you've got the Eruption, and those are two of the main moves that you're going to want to spam with this team. So you definitely have to be careful of opposing Wide Guard users. I think a defensive Terra Amoonguss, like Water Terra in general, I think is already kind of scary for this team, especially if you're not bringing Raging Bolt. So something like Water Terra Amoonguss can be scary because it, of course, can just put on pressure with Spore immediately. Ice Rider here is going to have to watch out for Kyogre as a restricted in particular, since you are going to be that Fire Terra. Otherwise, Shadow Rider can still be a little bit scary if utilized properly and has like the proper support next to it as well. But yeah, I'd say in a lot of the games that I played with this team that I've lost, it's mainly from either fear of my opponent reversing Trick Room and reading too much into it, or Smeargle getting taunted, or just not maximizing my turns of Trick Room well enough, and my opponent is able to actually relatively effectively stall it out, right? Another thing to note is that Urshifu is a really key member of this team to try to win the game under Trick Room. So if you have a good defensive way to deal with this, whether it be like a good Fairy Terra against it, that can be really handy as well. But overall, I mean, this team did just win regionals, right? And so it's really, really powerful. Doesn't mean there's no counterplay. So those are a couple of things I think you should pay attention to. Ooh, we've got an Ice Rider team here with Pelipper, Rillaboom, Urshifu, Raging Bolt, Frigoraph. This reminds me of the team that Patrick Connors won the North American International Championships with last year. And I'm glad to be going up against a Pelipper because obviously that's a pretty big problem Pokemon for Torkoal. They also have Rillaboom, which can be disruptive for Smeargle. Mainly because I can't Spore it. I think Smeargle, Ice Rider, Urshifu for sure. This one's interesting because I do think Pelipper's existence makes me want to bring Bolt a lot more. I think Dark Earth should be excellent here. So I think, yeah, Smeargle, Ice Rider, Ursh for sure. You could debate Indeedee over Smeargle, but I think Smeargle is better here because it has fast Spore, and I think a single Spore is a really big deal. I think I can also angle for potential decorates in this game. So, yeah, the question is, do I want to bring Torkoal even though I know my opponent has that Pelipper? Because if we knock out Pelipper, then bring out Torkoal, Torkoal kind of dominates. The alternative is bringing Raging Bolt knowing they have to bring Pelipper. I think I actually am going to go Bolt here. The thing is, by going with this, I'm going to be weaker to their Ice Rider. Obviously, I have Choice Band Dark Urshifu against it, but it means that that becomes like my only real way of damaging it. Bolt is obviously significantly weaker to Ice Rider than Torkoal is, so that's the main thing to consider here. But yeah, I think this is a tricky matchup very much because of the Pelipper. Maybe Urshifu plus Ice Rider, okay. It's often going to be Scarf on the Urshifu in a team like this. I could low-key Grass Terra to take Surging. Spore into Ice Rider. And Trick Room. It would just mean not getting a tear off with what I have in the back. I don't think we're tearing this. I don't think tearing this is necessary either. I'm really thinking about it. Okay. Grass Terra, Spore, Trick Room. They switch Ice Rider out. Okay. Into Pelipper. Farigiraf to block the Fake Out on turn 1. That's smart. But this is totally fine with me. Because now your Farigiraf just goes to sleep. Unless you're Safety Goggles Farigiraf, which could be a thing. But if I'm getting Trick Room up and they're clicking Surging into Smeargle, like that would be my absolute dream. Because then I can just go Decorate Glacial next turn. Perfect. Oh, beautiful. Okay, that was a really great turn 1 for us. Played out even better than I expected, honestly, but the thing I was talking about coming into this matchup was what, like, I thought their Ice Rider could be a little bit difficult to deal with because I'm dropping Torkoal here, so I was like, putting Ice Rider to sleep immediately and getting Trick Room up seems pretty good for us. The main scary thing there is if Ice Rider just gets like a 1-turn Wake, then I don't get as much value with Smeargle. But now I think I can threaten with the Decorate, which is really nice. Whoops, let's make sure we decorate the right Mon. Decorate into you, Glacial Lance here. I don't want to click Close Combat because I don't want to drop my defenses here. I also could have gone Spore onto the Urshifu slot, but I think I'm happy just getting a free Decorate off here. Cool. And the Decorate just covers for Urshifu protecting or switching. Yeah, they're going to Surging us, but we basically take no damage. Brilliant. I shouldn't say no damage. That was actually about half our health, but it's still fine. I think the main thing to think about is how they theoretically could get Dark Urshifu. Or sorry, they could get their Ice Rider out against us. They could also bring out Pelipper. I think here we can just go for Spore now into their Urshifu and Glacial Lance. Cool. Oh my gosh, that almost knocks out the Urshifu. Nice. So, Ice Rider gets an attack boost. Cool. Smeargle puts Urshifu to sleep. Beautiful. And Ursh has to take its guaranteed first turn of sleep. Wonderful. So now you can bring out Ice Rider if you're my opponent. But I can survive Glacial. You can bring out Pelipper, but if you bring out Pelipper, I can just click Close Combat. Yeah, they're going to bring out their Ice Rider. I'm almost thinking about switching out Smeargle here. I don't know if it's a great idea. The main thing here is that this should be faster than us under Trick Room. Faster than Smeargle specifically. Their last one should be Pelipper. I have +3 Close Combat. Just not confident that actually knocks out their Ice Rider. And a Glacial shouldn't one-shot my Urshifu. So I think I'm actually okay switching out into Ursh here. And clicking Glacial. Yeah. This allows me to have just like another Fake Out and Spore in the end game. If I was 100% sure +3 close combat would knock out their Ice Rider, I think I'd go for it here. But their Ice Rider protects, which is even better because it means I get a free switch into Ursh. Great. Cool. But I think in this situation, it's like, what is the worst case, right? I think the absolute worst case would be Ice Rider, like, crits me with a close combat if they even had it. But I know I can survive a Glacial or high horsepower, right? And then the other question is, are you min speed? Because on a team like theirs, I wouldn't expect it to be min speed. And there's that Pelipper that we expected. Yep. But now I have +4 close combat. So I think I'm happy clicking just Wicked Blow here and close combat here. Terra comes out. See if it's Terra Fairy Ice Rider. Nope, Terra Grass. Cool. Even if it was Terra Fairy, I'm not sure you're surviving +4 close combat plus Choice Band Wicked Blow, even though you resist them. But there's Wide Guard. Yep, that's the main thing we want to predict for here. So no reason to click Glacial when we know they have the threat of Wide Guard, +4 close combat. And yeah, that doesn't even get the knockout. So you can see why I didn't go for the +3 close combat last turn. Because then I risk the Urshifu waking up, and then I have a defense drop, right? So Surging does so much more damage. And this is also why I was comfortable switching in my Urshifu last turn, because you can see Glacial only does about half our health, right? So let's say like they didn't protect Ice Rider last turn, they just went for Glacial. What would I do this turn? I would probably go for Sucker Punch close combat onto the Ice Rider instead of Wicked Blow. But here, because I knew I was going to be slow, I figured Wicked Blow would be fine. But you can just close combat Wicked Blow now. Okay, I'm going to go for Weather Ball. That's fine. I've got Raging Bolt in the back, so it doesn't really matter. Urshifu faints. And I think this game, yeah, played out even better than expected because of that turn 1 switch. So I'm also extra glad I didn't go for Fake Out there. But it's going to be Sash on Pelipper here. Okay. I can just go out into Smeargle. And we can end the game with the Smeargle Fake Out, which I think would be kind of fun. But yeah, I think if I knew close combat was a guaranteed knockout onto Ice Rider earlier, then it would have been better to click close combat into it. But even at +4, you saw we didn't KO. So at +3, it's definitely not KOing. So yeah, I can just Fake Out Trick Room here. Cool. Smeargle was definitely, in my opinion, like the kind of hidden MVP of this game because it was able to disrupt so much, right? I was able to put 2 different Pokemon to sleep with Spore and also able to click Decorate to increase Ice Rider's offense. And I think like part of what makes this team so powerful is it just snowballs so quickly, right? And if you kind of make one mistake against it, it can also just like really blow the game wide open. I don't even think my opponent like objectively made any mistakes in this one. It's more just that they gave me more than I expected from 2 turns, which was turn 1 when they switched into Farigiraf, just eating Spore up rather than staying in with Ice Rider. And it's funny because they were actually the Grass Terra on Ice Rider, so they could have actually Grass Terra turn 1 to deal with my Spore, and that actually would have been really powerful. But yeah, I think they honed in a little bit more on the Fake Out there, and with the Grass Terra, we were able to resist the Surging Strike, survive, and also put them to sleep. I think their play makes a ton of sense, because if you expect Fake Out, Trick Room on turn 1, you're like, oh, okay, I'll just block your Fake Out, I'll knock out your Smeargle, and then where do you play the game from there, right? Because once Smeargle faints, I can bring out Pelipper, I can reverse Trick Room with Farigiraf, but yeah, instead we get a huge advantage, and then are able to just take that kind of all the way. Okay, we've got Shadow Rider, Urshifu, Insync, Clef, Smeargle, Rilla. The Smeargle wars are really interesting here. I feel like I might need Bolt just to deal with Smeargle. I'm also low-key like, is it ever just lead Torkoal and just Eruption? But I think I like our own Smeargle. Smeargle, Ice Rider, Dark Ursh, Torkoal. Seems fine. It's just that Bolt is good into Smeargle. But I can also Grass Terra follow me with my Smeargle to deal with their Smeargle. So, yeah. NED is just awkward to bring. Like, it's good for terrain control. then they could bring out their Rilla. If I had like safety goggles on Indy, I actually think I'd definitely be bringing it, but Smeargle just feels better because it has like fast fake out and Spore. I go instant Calyrex, which is fine by me. I mean, against this, I think I can just go fake out Trick Room turn 1. My question is whether or not they Astral. Should I commit Terra? Tarversh plus Torkoal. With me not being able to Terra Torkoal, I should survive an Astral here as well. But it could be helping hand Incineroar. That's a thing. Could also Decorate. My guess is they fake out Smeargle, so I should be clicking fake out into Incin. Okay, I think I'm going to fake out Fire Terra Trick Room. It's just relatively safe here. This could be Ghost Terra on their end, which would be really scary. Okay, it's Terra on Calyrex. Into Grass. Great. This is fantastic for us. Now you're weak to Glacial Lance. Grass Terra, Calyrex, Shadow Rider, by the way, picking up as we wrap up this regulation. It is being used with Giga Drain, Nasty Plot, Life Orb. And the idea is you Nasty Plot, and it's like Draining Kiss, right? But Giga Drain, you get the increased benefit of having Rillaboom to set up the grassy terrain. So the Grass Terra makes a lot of sense because it obviously covers for Spore. Instant flinches. They Nasty Plot. Okay, great. And we get Trick Room up. This next turn should be, I think, Clefairy switching in Protect with the Calyrex. I can Decorate, so I'm leaning towards Decorate into my Calyrex Glacial Lance. It could be Clef switch in and then Calyrex just protects. Or sorry, just attacks, but yeah, they're going to protect, which is great. Get Glacial off. And Grass Terra is just so bad for them because now I get Torkoal, right? If they are not, if they're KOing Smeargle. Oh, they Parting Shot. Even better. Nice. Yeah, I think this Decorate should just win us the game because I assume you're bringing out your Clefairy for Friend Guard. But with Decorate, I just knock you out anyway. It could be Rilla, I guess. Would you really bring Rilla into this matchup? That seems crazy. Yeah, Clefairy. Perfect. So I think this should be game over, honestly. Because now we have +2 Calyrex. Great. Calyrex does, or sorry, Clefairy does get access to Sing, so I think that's the one way I could potentially lose this right now. It does get After You as well, so I think what we do here is just simply follow me to cover for both of those and Glacial Lance. My biggest fear, I guess, would be Shadow Rider switching out into Insane. Clefairy Sing connects onto me, but the game is still totally playable from there. I could have gone Close Combat, by the way, into the Instant slot, but I didn't want to in case Calyrex actually attacked in that position, because then I have -1 special defense, and then you have +2 Astral Barrage. Yep, we cover for the After You. Perfect. And Glacial comes out. Yeah, I think in this position, like, maybe it feels tempting to click something like Spore or Decorate, but you can see how much damage we're doing with +2 Glacial, right? I don't need another Decorate, and do I need a Spore Clefairy? Like, what am I really denying there, right? Because Clefairy is going to move before me anyway since it's so slow relative to Smeargle. So, yeah. I think in this matchup, it worked out even better since we ran into this kind of offensive Shadow Rider with Grass Terra. And Grass Terra is probably, like, the worst Terra for my opponent to have. But that's also part of what makes this team so strong. If you want a way to deal with Smeargle, you often are going to need a Grass Terra or a Safety Goggles or Taunt, right? And so, like, the Grass Terra covered for Smeargle with her one. My guess is they went going fake out into Calyrex. But I think they could have also maybe gone fake out into Smeargle. Ghost Terra Smeargle is the thing, though, so my opponent may have been worried about Ghost Terra Smeargle sporing Calyrex on turn 1, which I think makes sense. But, yeah, as soon as you commit that Grass Terra, I figured the only way they could really get out of this tricky position would have been the switching into Clefairy. We never saw the item on Calyrex, right? Because if it was life orbed, I was like, maybe they had a shot. I'm also surprised, like, that there was Smeargle here, but it came out so much later in the game, because I was actually worried about a Smeargle lead from their end. But my way of dealing with Smeargle on their end is, one, knowing that we have fast Smeargle, and then two, I could also, like, Grass Terra to get around Spore. 2 turns of Trick Room left. I think here I'm okay actually clicking Follow Me. You have already Terra'd. Follow Me close combat here is fine. Yeah, I mean, this duo can't... Like, the one thing we want to cover for in this endgame is Smeargle having Transform, and then transforming into a Pokemon. So, like, that's the main thing we want to respect, right? But yeah, I think it's like, at this point in the game, we still have 4 Pokemon, and if you fake out into Ice Rider, then I get my Follow Me off. If you fake out into Smeargle, I close combat KO you. Even if you transform, it's a 4v1. We should be good from there. So, yeah. But I think in this game, it was very much about, like, the combination of setting up Trick Room with Ice Rider as well as Smeargle, being able to get that deck rate off. Single deck rate just allows you to absolutely dominate with Ice Rider often. Okay, we've got Smeargle, Shadow Rider, Incineroar, Ursh, as well as Fire Ogerpon. So, into the Shadow Rider matchup, Torkoal should be really good. The main Pokemon I'm actually worried about is their Smeargle. Smeargle, Ice Rider, Dark Ursh, Torkoal. And then the main question is, what kind of Shadow Rider set are they? Specifically, what Terra are they? But generally, I feel okay with this. Bolt, I don't love bringing in this matchup, especially in the closed Team Sheet environment. If it were open Team Sheet and I saw that it was Water Ursh, I would consider Bolt a little bit more. And then Indeedee is, like, okay, but I generally like Smeargle more. Fast Fake Out, Spore into their Calyrex. Indeedee doesn't really provide offense, and it's vulnerable to eating up a Spore from their Smeargle. Calyrex Instant, okay. A lot of plays we can make here on turn 1. Fake Out, Instant, just Trick Room is generally what I like going for here. Question is whether or not I want to Terra the Calyrex. I don't think we need to Terra Grass this, but Terra Fire this is a really offensive, strong option. Yeah, I'm thinking about not Terraing, honestly. But I also don't know if we really need the Fire Terra, so... on Torkoal, so... You know what? I'll play it safe. I'll Fake Out Trick Room here. Okay, they don't Terra. Or at least it could be Terra Instant. They're not Terraing Shadow Rider. But if they're Terraing Instant, it would also mean... No, they can't be Terraing it, yeah. Because we're mid-speed. Okay, we get Fake Out off. Rocky Helmet, that's fine. Nasty Plot, probably. Yeah, it's okay. I think in this situation, I just really want to show respect to any potential Calyrex sets they can be. So, I'm fine with this. Although I will say the Rocky Helmet is a little bit annoying. I can go Follow Me now. They can knock off or Flare Blitz into Astro Barrage. I have Close Combat. I think I'm okay going for Follow Me here and actually Glacial Lancing. I don't want to Close Combat because I don't want to eat up a Spadef drop here. The idea in this scenario is we... Calyrex protects. Okay, that's fine. I guess where this is annoying is if they actually brought Rilla. But if they knock out Smeargle here, I just get a double knockout next turn with Eruption plus Glacial. Pretty sure. Oh, it's Taunt. That's actually a really good tool for my opponent to have. Okay, that changes things. I gotta switch into Dark Ursh then and Close Combat into Incin. that was a really nice play. If I hard switch into Torkoal there, it's probably just game winning on the spot, but it's a little bit risky. The problem here is I'm probably just eating up an Astral Barrage, but then I have Urshifu plus Torkoal out under Trick Room, so it might still be okay. But that was a really, really nice taunt play. Taunt, of course, is going to be one of your best tools in dealing with the Smeargle. Yeah, an Astral. Nicely done. So yeah, maybe it was worth contemplating just hard switching Smeargle out in that position. Since Taunt is not like a huge surprise on Incineroar either, Protect Taunt is just, yeah, really nice defensive play that helps out a lot into Trick Room. I think, like, the main thing is I was just worried about switching basically anything in and eating up an attack that turn. Because basically the Smeargle is not slow here. So the problem is Instinct can just knock out Smeargle, and then Calyrex gets an attack off as well. So if I switch out into Ursh or Torkoal, I risk eating up just knockoff plus Astral Barrage. But really great play to go for Taunt there, rather than basically anything else, like a Flare Blitz or a knockoff. But yeah, I mean, we still have Torkoal with Eruption, and Choice Band Wicked Blow under Trick Room, so might still be okay. But I think my opponent played the opening turns really quite nicely. Trying to think what I would have done differently in response to the plays that they made specifically. I don't think I would have changed my turn 1 play. Now the question is, do you have Wide Guard on Smeargle? 2 turns of Trick Room left. You have Fake Out right now. I have Wicked Blow and Eruption. I mean, if you Wide Guard, you just feint to the Wicked Blow, right? But if it's like Life Orb Fairy Terra here, you maybe you survive the Wicked Blow, obviously, and then Draining Kiss or Astral Me. Indeedee, I don't think would have solved for too much in this one. They block Fake Out on turn 1, I suppose. Calyrex switches. Ooh, interesting. And they did bring Rillaboom as the last one. Wow. Yeah, I really like how my opponent sequenced this, honestly. You bring Rillaboom so that you have Fake Out to stall out my Trick Room. And, like, now they have double Fake Out, essentially, in this game. Very clever. Oh, we almost one-shot. One-shotting there might have actually won us the game. Wow. Because then you have to bring Calyrex back out immediately. Attack boost is fine. The problem is now you can Fake Out Spore, right? And it's the last turn of Trick Room. Still winnable though, right? I would Fake Out Torkoal here. Spore Urshifu. I do have Smeargle in the back. I could switch here. I think better to lock in a Heat Wave here. Oh, they just went Grassy Glide. If I switch into Smeargle there, I don't know if that really changes much, honestly. We miss Heat Wave. Yeah, but I think my opponent probably still wins this game anyway, since Smeargle has Sash. And now you Spore into Torkoal. Yeah, maybe Indeedee was worth considering here, because they basically had triple Fake Out in this game with Incineroar and Smeargle. But I think the key turn was when I got Protect and Taunted, and then Rill also surviving on 1 HP was really unfortunate here. Because if it doesn't survive, Calyrex comes back out on the last turn of Trick Room, right? So you have to deal with the onslaught of Eruption plus Wicked Blow once more. But they still had Terra available to them, so I'm also curious what Terra they were. Is there any way for me to win this now? I have Fake Out here, but they just Grassy Glide. Maybe if I survive with Smeargle, burn a turn of sleep. Yeah, I mean, I could have gone Eruption there, but I figured Eruption is not going to win me the game because then I'm locked into Eruption, and then a Life Orb Astro just does way too much damage to Torkoal. So I figured I had to click Heat Wave there. But I think we likely would have lost this anyway, because even if I KO'd Rillaboom, it'd be Smeargle Calyrex. Even if Smeargle can't protect, I KO that. I just don't think I can beat the Calyrex in the long run, since it hasn't taken damage. And I think the main thing in this one was Calyrex getting a free Nasty Plot off on turn 1, which is like generally okay, but then the Rocky Helmet breaking our Focus Sash meant I was more worried about with Smeargle, and then I didn't switch Smeargle out, and then the Taunt was really nice. If you don't have Taunt there, that turn like looks really different, right? But I also think really smart by my opponent to bring out that Rillaboom, and then like the 1 HP survival was also super clutch from it here. So this was a really close game, but I feel like we definitely had the tools to win. And yeah, I think the question is, one, whether or not I want to be more like cognizant of that taunt specifically on turn 2. Don't think Bolt changes much. Like I said, I think Indeedee is bringable into this matchup, maybe even as a lead option over the Smeargle, but I don't really regret bringing Smeargle per se. I guess if for some reason they let me get the Decorate off, I could still win this. But you should just fake out here. I'm also curious what Terra they were, so let's see. Was it a Terra that would help out against Dark Urshifu? Like Fairy. It was Grass Terra. I wonder how much bulk they had with Life Orb, because I wonder if Choice Band Wicked Blow still just KOs them. Fake out Giga Drain? Yeah, that's smart. Fake out Giga Drain, I think, is, unless I can protect with Smeargle there, this always works, because then you get a special attack boost, and then you have just Woodhammer Astral single target next turn. So, yeah, I think my opponent played this game very, very nicely. And this game feels pretty different from that last Shadow Rider matchup we had against Clefairy, right? And part of it is triple fake out, plus the Shadow Rider positioning itself, like going for that Nasty Plot, and then even though I got Trick Room up, Smeargle basically was costing me a turn, and then I was forced to hard switch the next turn, which also felt really bad. So, yeah. I think I probably should be switching Smeargle out on turn 2, just because even if I, like, eat up Knockoff plus Astral, I then get a free switch into something else. It's just that I wanted to conserve both Torkoal and Dark Urshifu, but like I said, if I had switched into Torkoal that turn, it's probably just like game winning on the spot, because then I have Torkoal plus Ice Rider with Eruption plus Glacial Lance to pick up a double knockout onto anything, basically. So I think the main turn I'm pointing to in this game was when I got taunted. Could have saved my Terra. I don't think that actually would have really changed much. So I don't mind going for the Terra with Ice Rider on turn 1. But I think turn 2 is where I could have played differently. Okay, we have an opposing Ice Rider Hard Trick Room team, but they have Ursaluna Blood Moon. That's actually the only difference. Ursaluna Blood Moon over Dark Urshifu. Okay. They have their own Smeargle, which is a little bit scary. I think it's like, even though they have Smeargle, which probably a Spore, I still don't want to bring Raging Bolt. I think it's probably still like Smeargle, Ice Rider, or Dark Ursh. Actually, no, I think Smeargle Dark Ursh is great because we have Grass Terra on this. Torkoal in the back, Ice Rider. So basically, when you're going up against opposing teams that also really value Trick Room, it's good to ask yourself, like, what are the main ways your teams are differentiated in terms of speed? In this case, we have an Urshifu. They don't have an Urshifu. They're probably going to be close to min speed on most Pokemon, so even though our Urshifu is min speed, it should still be outpacing most of their team, if not all, outside of Trick Room. Smeargle is the one thing that I definitely expect to be faster than my Urshifu, but I have Grass Terra, so I can simply just Grass Terra to get around a Spore. We also have max speed Smeargle on our end, so we could just like fake out plus Wicked Blow into their Smeargle on turn 1. And if Trick Room gets set up, then I think we bring out our Torkoal under Trick Room and then just Fire Terra, Eruption, everything. So, yeah, when I have gone up against opposing hard Trick Room teams that aren't a complete mirror match, Smeargle Urshifu is definitely my go-to lead. Smeargle Calyrex on their end, okay. The main thing here is potentially losing a speed tie on Smeargle with Fake Out. Basically, the play I could make here is obviously just Fake Out into Smeargle, Wicked Blow. If I knock this out, then they get a free switch in, which is less than ideal. Fake out Smeargle. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go fake out. Just Wicked Blow. We force him to Terra, which is fine because now it means you can't Terra anything else, and Torkoal, Fire, Terra, Eruption under Trick Room should be really good. I'm assuming they want to get Trick Room up right now. And yes, they're Fire Terra, but are you surviving Choice Band, Wicked Blow, plus Fire Terra Eruption? Probably not. Okay, we get our Fake Out off first, which is great. They flinch. Wicked Blow. It's huge damage. Okay. Trick Room goes up. Okay, that's fine. My main question is whether or not they have Wide Guard on their Smeargle now, but I think I can just go for Follow Me here. And then Wicked Blow. Follow Me just covers for Spore. We also probably outspeed with our Urshifu under Trick Room, actually, right? So I could probably actually Spore Calyrex, Wicked Blow into Smeargle. Yep, they're just Glacial. That's fine. Brings us down to Sash. Cool. Yeah, we outspeed. That KO's Smeargle. Now we put Ice Rider to sleep. You probably bring out Ursaluna Blood Moon, but then you, even if you get a double knockout, you burn a turn of sleep with Ice Rider. I get Torkoal plus Ice Rider out. I just go Fire, Terra, Eruption, Glacial Lance. I could also switch Urshifu out potentially maybe this next turn into Ice Rider. I actually like that play. Oh, but they just bring out their Torkoal. If you're bringing out your Torkoal, I do have to, like... Yeah, we have Fire Terra on this. I think I just Terra this. Yeah. I'm okay going for... I mean, they should just Eruption here. But in case they go for a single target attack, because they're worried about Wide Guard, I can go for this. Calyrex pivots out. Probably into Ursa. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and the Eruption. I think the main scary thing here is Torkoal Speed Ties. Is there any way to get around the Speed Tie? Basically, if I win the Speed Tie, Torkoal just wins me the game on the spot. But if I lose, I take a ton of damage from their Eruption. And then my Eruption becomes weaker. I'm just thinking, like, what can I do to get around that? Fire Terra Calyrex. Yeah, I think I lean towards Heat Wave here. Fire Terra Glacial Lance. This just covers for losing a Speed Tie. It just is scary because I could miss Heat Wave, but I think I would lose the game if I clicked Eruption here and I lost the Speed Tie. Because then I just take way too much damage and then my Eruption is just way too weak. The other thing is, like, I think you could theoretically Weather Ball into either slot or even Earth Power. Yeah, Ursaluna protects. That's not surprising. Okay. Yep, and they did win the Speed Tie, so that's why I didn't think I could risk clicking that. And you see how much damage Torkoal takes there, right? It comes out. Okay, we don't miss. That's a ton. That's a crit. Although I actually would prefer... Like, the Torkoal not fainting here would be ideal, right? Because then you're stuck at, like, really low HP. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't faint anyway. Nice. So, yeah. Now you just Heat Wave again. There's still one turn of Trick Room left. Heat Wave, Glacial. You switch Ursa out. That makes sense. Okay. Get another Eruption off, but that's basically doing no damage. And then it's a question of whether or not Ursa can win this endgame for my opponent, because Trick Room's about to expire. But you're probably Life Orb, so you have to take a single target Heat Wave in Sun or a Glacial Lance. I think it may have been worth it to just lock into Specs Earth Power. I was worried about the world, though, where I lock into Specs Earth Power, Ursa survives a Glacial. But I guess it would be a single target Glacial in that situation. Ursa could have also switched out into Ice Rider in that position, though. So I was thinking that would cover for it. Trick Room expires. 2 turns of Sunlight. Just Heat Wave here. Glacial. Okay, they offer Earth Power into Calyrex. So it's going to been Protect Calyrex as well. The question is, does single target Choice Specs Heat Wave in Sun get the knockout onto Ursa, especially if they take Life Orb damage, which I assume they will here? Yep. Nice. Oh. That was a crit. What is that, Calc? Torkoal. Ursaluna, assuming you're max HP. Force Bedef. Heat Wave. Single target. Choice Specs. Yeah, that's a KO. I'll pull up the damage calc real quick. Let's see. Yeah, as you can see, single target Choice Specs Torkoal in Sun is a guaranteed one-hit KO, even against max HP Force Bedef. Ursaluna does 96%. And so, yeah, I figured we were good in that endgame. I think the main thing is contemplating whether or not I should have clicked Earth Power. Earth Power, I think, could work. Let's see. Calyrex Ice Rider into Ursaluna, Glacial Lance. Yeah, this is why I didn't go for the Earth Power, because I figured I needed to Heat Wave and Glacial in order to get the guaranteed knockout onto the Ursaluna, right? Like, even if you're max attack Calyrex here, for example, you don't get the knockout, which is why I went for Heat Wave. And so Heat Wave covered for losing a speed tie, which happened, and it also is just scary because I can obviously miss in that endgame, but I think it was okay to go for in the end, because if I Earth Power, lose the speed tie, and then Ursaluna just attacks, I think I lose the game on the spot there. We've got Lunala here. This is pretty similar, of course, to the Lunala team that won the Vancouver Regional Championships, but it has the Champao over Roaring Moon, and then Raging Bolt as well over Landorus Eye. What's scary about the Lunala, I think, in closed team sheet best of 1 is not knowing if it has Wide Guard or not. Wide Guard is a huge difference maker in a matchup like this. So what do we want to bring? Indy is actually interesting from a standpoint of being able to redirect attacks away from Lunala, but it's probably Expanding Force anyway, honestly. I think this is probably Smeargle, Ice Rider, Dark Ursh plus Torkoal. If Bolt had Snarl, I would think about it a little bit more. Safety Goggles, not super relevant. The thing about Bolt is that a Draco Meteor in Sun with Photosynthesis actually does a lot, but I still don't love it. I don't think this is great for Indy either. So, yeah. Yeah, I think here we should basically be able to do a lot of damage with Urshifu under Trick Room. That's probably the main Pokemon to prioritize. Champao Lunala. Okay. I'm very worried about Meteor Beam. I do have close combat, but the threat of Meteor Beam I think is real, so I think I want to go Spore, Protect turn 1. Yeah, I'm down for this. It also comes down to how fast their Lunala is, but that's part of the reason why I'm willing to go for this, because if they're like slower than Smeargle, this like really works, but okay, turns out it already works, because they end up going for Spinner into Calyrex. And Meteor Beam, okay, perfect, yeah. Great. Without Lunala having its Meteor Beam potential now. Oh, they actually targeted Smeargle. Interesting that they split their damage like that. Okay. I mean, I'll still take it at the end of the day. That could have been really scary if they doubled up on a Smeargle. I'm really surprised they went for Ice Spinner onto the Ice Rider. Rather, like, it implies to me then they don't have Crunch or Throat Chop, which would make sense. But we get Trick Room up. Or sorry, not Trick Room up. We get the Spore off. think what I want to do here is hard switch into... Ooh, I could switch into Torkoal or Urshifu. They could be Water Terra, which is my primary concern. Water Terra, you then can bring in Indeedee Expanding Force. I could pretty easily go for a safe Follow Me Trick Room here, but they could Protect. I could Decorate. I think I like hard switching here, personally. Yeah, I'll hard switch Trick Room. And I'm switching in Torkoal here because if I switch in Urshifu, I risk eating up a Sacred Sword. Turn 1 could have been much worse for me if they doubled up on Smeargle, so I'm really glad that didn't happen. What? I have never seen a Chien-Pao with Ruination. That is so interesting. Huh. I'm a little bit worried about Sucker Punch here, admittedly. You could Sucker into Calyrex. They've only taken 1 turn of sleep is the thing. So it's like our odds are pretty good to go Fire Terra or just Eruption here. Fire Terra here, Glacial. Okay, they switch. That's fine. But it could be Indeedee. No, that's Bolt. Okay, that's great for us. As long as they don't get a 1-turn Wake, and even if they get a 1-turn Wake, it's not the end of the world. But if it's a 1-turn Wake and they have Wide Guard, that would be bad. It could be Meteor Beam, Wide Guard, Expanding Forest, Moongeist Beam instead of Trick Room. Ruination is fascinating, though. Lunala does try to move first, so that could have been Protect or Wide Guard. I'm guessing they do have Wide Guard, honestly, if that's what happened there. We get a crit on Bolt, but I assume Glacial would have KO'd them anyway. Lunala does hang on with the Sliver, though, which is a little bit scary. Okay. Given that they move first, yeah, it's either Protect or Wide Guard, I assume. Wide Guard makes a lot of sense based on the fact that we're willing to switch in Raging Bolt like that. Chien-Pao comes back out. I do have close combat, but like I could switch here. I think I'm happy clicking Eruption close combat into Chien-Pao here. Oh, they just end up forfeiting. Okay. Yeah, I think 2 things in this game. First was turn 1. If they double up on a Smeargle, it's definitely a different game. I don't get Trick Room up, but I figured them doubling on Smeargle felt somewhat unlikely because 1, it's tempting to launch Meteor Beam into Calyrex, and 2, like, Smeargle has Fake Out and Spore potential, right? And Follow Me. The safest play actually probably would have been just Follow Me and Trick Room on turn 1. But I thought it was really unlikely they would, like, launch a double up onto Smeargle there on turn 1. But Follow Me Trick Room actually may have just been better because then I get a free switch in under Trick Room and then I get Torkoal out under Trick Room. But the problem here is I didn't know the Lunala set, right? And like I said, it may have had Wide Guard, so it may have actually been really crucial that we got that Spore off onto it to deny it Wide Guarding. Because if it does have Wide Guard, that completely changes the dynamic of this matchup as well. If it does have Wide Guard, then I actually should be prioritizing bringing out Dark Urshifu out first. Like, I brought Torkoal out first, but I think Dark Ursh out to threaten the Lunala slot I think also would have made a lot of sense. And I would pressure, like, Wicked Blow, Fire Terra, Glacial Lands, basically, from that position. The main thing is I switched out the Smeargle, right? And so maybe I could have just, like... I wanted to switch out to, like, just maximize getting in Urshifu as quickly, or Torkoal in as quickly as possible. And, like, Ursh probably... It could have eaten up a Sacred Sword there anyway. But, yeah, I have to say, very interesting Chien-Pao set with that Ruination. Alright, we've got Classic Miraidon here with Urshifu, Whimsicott, Farigiraf, Fire Ogerpon, and Iron Hands. So, into Miraidon, I actually think the scariest thing basically is the Trick Room reversal from Farigiraf. But I like Indeedee, Calyrex, Torkoal, and Urshifu. I think Bolt is also bringable. But Glacial in general is really powerful. Torkoal is really powerful. And then Urshifu under Trick Room should be really powerful as well. The reason I like Indeedee more as a lead here is because Smeargle is vulnerable to like Electric Terrain being set up and just stopping Spore. It's vulnerable to Urshifu. It's vulnerable to Taunt. Indeedee plus Calyrex means that I set up terrain, right? So if you lead Miraidon, I override your terrain immediately. The main thing is depending on what they lead with, right? Because let's say you lead like Miraidon plus like Farigiraf. It would make sense to just like Volt Switch out immediately. Do I want to set up Trick Room? Because then it could be Iron Hands coming out. Maybe still, honestly. But yeah, I think in the Arubega Miraidon matchup, Indeedee is going to be quite good. And I like Smeargle less for all the reasons I listed. Yeah, I think my debate is, do we want to bring Raging Bolt? But Raging Bolt feels really bad into Whimsicott, feels bad into Iron Hands, feels bad into a Terra Miraidon as well. So for those reasons, I think we'll go with these 4 and see how it plays out. But yeah, this is one of those games where it's like, yeah, I know my opponent has terrain, but I have the slower terrain, so I can lead Indeedee without that much consequence, which is always great. And then one thing to think about is, like, if you get Trick Room up, Miraidon can't protect, right? And so there's not that many protects on the opposing team, depending on what they go with. Like, if they go Whimsicott Farigiraf, it is going to be Miraidon Farigiraf, which I mentioned earlier as a lead option. This makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, the great thing here is overriding terrain on turn 1. Basically, I think, like, what's interesting here on turn 1 is you probably want to just Volt Switch out. I think the other interesting thing here is with Farigiraf. You could foul play. If you think I'm going to Trick Room, you could even reverse my Trick Room. Now, they could also go, like, Helping Hand Draco onto either slot. But basically, I am actually really intrigued by something like Helping Hand plus Glacial Lance turn 1. Because I think Volt Switch is definitely going to happen here. Alternatively, I think I can just Trick Room here. It's just like if we think they're going to reverse Trick Room, right? Yeah, I'm down to just Helping Hand Glacial here, turn 1. Okay, they go for Terra immediately. Terra Fairy Miraidon then, I guess. Interesting. And then, are they still Volt Switching out? Or are they just like Dazzling Gleaming? Because Miraidon's really not that scary if Electric Terrain isn't set up, in my opinion. Wow, they just went for Gleam. Okay. Did not expect that. But that's fine. We get our Glacial off before Farigiraf moves. Yeah, nice. That's exactly why I went for this play. I honestly think we just win now, right? Like, what's stopping another Helping Hand in Glacial? Yeah, I think the answer is nothing. The thing is, this turn 1 is, like, a little bit risky in the sense that, like, they could go for, like, Helping Hand Draco. They could Helping Hand Electro Drift. They could foul play there as well. It just feels like, on my end, because I'm hard Trick Room, you are really hard conditioned to think, like, you want to reverse my Trick Room on turn 1, right? So, they bring out Iron Hands, but, yeah, now, like, Calyrex is just so free to spam Glacial Lance this whole game. We get Helping Hand. Beautiful. We outpace here since we're mid-speed. Farigiraf actually does survive, which is, like, a little bit annoying, but it's fine. And we get crit by foul play. Okay, that was slightly less than ideal. I thought we would get the knockout, given how much the first one did, and I thought we would survive a foul play as well, which I think we do if you don't crit us there, but it's still okay. Everything's taken so much damage, and I still feel totally fine in this game. So I can bring out Torkoal now. If you're my opponent, your best bet is to switch in that Miraidon to override the terrain, and then get a Fake Out off. But I think I can just switch in. Actually, the risk... No, there's no risk here of switching in, right? Switch and Eruption here feels okay. If you Drain Punch me, we just outpace you anyway. If you Fake Out into me, sure, but then I can reset my terrain. And then I get Dark Ursh out while there's still 2 turns of Trick Room left. So yeah, I like that. Switch into Dark Urshifu. And Eruption. Yep, they switch. This should be Miraidon coming out, and then you click Fake Out. But this is still fine, right? I have 2 turns of Trick Room left. So what this means is 2 turns after this turn. So then it means next turn I threaten with a double knockout with Torkoal plus Urshifu. And then I have Torkoal Urshifu position under the last turn of Trick Room as well. But the game definitely got more interesting since Farigiraf survived Glacial and I got crit by Foul Play. I probably could have just Terra'd, honestly, with the Ice Rider a little bit earlier in that position. But it's fine. Don't really need Grass Terra on this, right? Fire Terra, I think, feels fine. I guess Grass Terra here helps out against Urshifu as their last one. Nothing can really take Eruption plus Wicked Blow. I'm mainly debating if I should be close combating instead. Because Fire Terra Eruption alone should clear this pretty easily from this point onwards. And if they have Ursh as their last one, we have Rocky Helmet NDD. Yeah, so I think it's fine to go just Wicked Blow, Fire Terror Eruption. Hand switches, makes sense. Into Farigiraf. This is, by the way, also why I wanted to conserve NDD, because by switching it out... Oh, interesting, they'll double switch. Okay, well then the game's definitely over, right? Because I should get a double knockout here. Ogerpon's their last one. And then on the last turn of Trick Room, I just switch Urshifu into NDD, reset terrain, and then just Eruption, double KO. But yeah, I think turn 1 alone... as soon as turn 1 happened, I felt like I should have the game won immediately. But it could have been dicey if Farigiraf just went for Foul Play there. I just felt like it was so likely they would try to reverse my Trick Room. So that's one of the things that you can do as a mix-up with this team is on that turn 1... You don't always have to go Trick Room, right? Like, with NDD, you could Helping Hand. With Smeargle, you can Decorate, you could Fake Out, you could Spore, and just attack immediately. So, it's important that I think, like, generally with this team, you want to set up Trick Room, right? And I think, like, if you take that risk on turn 1 and it doesn't work out, you often actually will lose the game on the spot, so you do have to be very careful. It has to be, like, a calculated decision. And, for example, in this game, I was just like, I think it's so unlikely Miraidon's just going to rip, like, a, you know, Draco Meteor plus Foul Play combo into the... Ice Rider because I pressure with Follow Me here. Like, Follow Me Trick Room is kind of the obvious play for me to make, and their play makes a ton of sense in response to that, right? Because you get a lot of damage off, you reverse my Trick Room, and then you have Helping Hand, Dazzling Gleam, pressure the next turn. So I think their play was actually very logical and covered for kind of what was like the obvious play on my end. But last turn of Trick Room, like I said, we just switch in NDD, Override Terrain, Eruption here, double KO. Torkoal picks up every knockout this game. So NDD I actually think very, very crucial in this matchup to, one, reduce Miraidon's damage output as the lead option, and then to be able to, yeah, switch in here as well. So I think the main debate is whether or not I should have Terra'd that Ice Rider to take that Foul Play. Even with the crit, but I even think Ice Rider fainting is fine, because then it's like we get stronger offense out in Torkoal plus the Dark Urshifu. So yeah, but I think in the Miraidon matchup, NDD is a Pokemon you want to be considering a lot more, because being able to override terrain is a really, really big deal. And then there's kind of that mind game. Like, if my opponent didn't lead Farigiraf, I would probably set up Trick Room for sure on turn 1. But with Farigiraf being led specifically, I was like, they probably want to reverse my Trick Room. You know, I think, like, you also could go, like, Fire Terra immediately on turn 1, for example. That would have helped against Dazzling Gleam. You could protect Ice Rider Trick Room, but then, like, if they Volt Switch and then reverse Trick Room, that does gain them some momentum. And so, yeah, I think, like, Helping Hand Glacial, I'm not sure I'd always, like, recommend that. I, like, just felt like based on the leads, it made a lot of sense in this one. And it worked out even better than expected. They, like, gave up their Terra, and then they were just in a really tough spot where, yeah, Ice Rider was just so powerful. I also think on turn 2, instead of going for Foul Play, they theoretically had the ability to maybe reverse my Trick Room. But then I guess it's like you have Iron Hands out, and then you take so much damage, and then the subsequent turn, like, I'm pressuring with another Trick Room afterwards, so it still might not be enough for my opponent. I think, like, turn 1 just gave us such a big advantage. Tyranitar, Thundurus, Origin Form Dialga, Comfey, Garganacl, and Iron Treads. Huh. I am fascinated. Okay. I feel like Garganacl is actually really annoying for us because of Wide Guard. If it's Ghost Terra, I guess we have Urshifu for it. I think this feels like Smeargle, Calyrex, Urshifu, Torkoal. That seems fine. The main annoying thing is honestly Tyranitar. Like, I actually think Dialga plus Tyranitar is really spooky for us. This is obviously so non-meta that it's like, you know, these are not Pokemon you would generally prepare for, which makes, I think, the matchup more interesting. But yeah, I don't think Bolt makes that much sense here. There's no Amoonguss. Nothing that Safety Goggles really helps out against. And then I think Indeedee is not great into T-Tar. Thundurus also is kind of interesting to see here because it's not like... I mean, it's prankster moves, basically. I don't know if I'm that scared of, right? Yeah. Okay, this works for me. Let's see. I'm just intrigued. There are a lot of Pokemon that we don't see. Really nothing on my opponent's team is meta right now, right? Comfey, Thundurus, Dialga, T-Tar. Treads is the main Pokemon that has, you know, made a big appearance in a couple of tournaments in this regulation. Dialga plus Iron Treads. Dialga is so big. Its sprite is like 3x the size of Ice Rider. I'm scared. I'm honestly contemplating turn 1 Spore, Protect. I could also fake out Fire Terra Close Combat. I also don't hate Sporing Iron Treads protecting turn 1. I think that's okay. The logic behind this is like Treads is actually kind of scary. I could fake out Close Combat it, but then Ice Rider is vulnerable to eating up an attack. Dialga could try to maybe reverse my Trick Room. It's just going to be Earthquake here. Okay, Telepathy. I also just want to see what Dialga's going for here. It's not a Pokemon we go up against that frequently. But if they went for Trick Room, for example, on turn 1, that would be pretty ideal for us. Nope, just Draco. Okay, great. That works for me. And now that I know I'm faster, so I can Spore into the Dialga slot. And I could just Close Combat. I don't mind that. The reason for this is because I want to hold on to my Trick Room a little bit, knowing that I have the faster Spore right now. I guess the one thing this is vulnerable to would be Grass Terra Dialga. If they went for that, then kudos. But Iron Treads has to take a turn of sleep here. Dialga actually pivots, which is fine by me. Okay, T-Tar maybe? No, Garganacl. That makes sense. Okay. But basically, yeah, like, sometimes you don't have to set up Trick Room immediately, and right now, it's like, I know I'm outpacing my opponent anyway, and, like, they're not threatening me with damage, so might as well just go for this, because I can safely set up Trick Room, I think, the subsequent turn. Treads does actually manage to hang on, though. Okay. Now I might want to set up Trick Room. Just play it safe. Follow me. Trick Room. Yeah, I think it's fine. I presume they'll wide guard with Garganacl. But then I can just get Dark Urshifu out, and then Dark Ursh plus Ice Rider should be really powerful. But yeah, Garganacl is the main thing we actually want to deal with here. So I'm happy it's like been forced out onto the field. I also wasn't sure about the Close Combat calc into Treads. It was really close to KOing. If that KOs, I think it's totally worth it because I get an attack boost as well. And then you have to bring something back out. Smeargle pressures with Spore. But Treads actually pivots. Okay, fine by me. Into Thundurus. And they're going to Terra Garganacl. Okay, so obviously respecting the Close Combat. I'm hoping this is Ghost Terra, which is fairly common because then I can just Wicked Blow into it. Beautiful. This is fantastic then. It could be a wide guard this turn. Could just be Assault Cure. Yeah, perfect. Okay, excellent. I think this is... I don't want to call the game yet, but I think we have built up such a huge lead from this. I think it'll be really difficult for my opponent to come back from. Mainly because I don't... Yeah, I think we also bring out Dark Ursh here because it's immune to Wicked Blow. Not Wicked Blow. It's immune to Thunder Wave from Thundurus because Thundurus is Prankster, presumably. So I can just Wicked Blow into Garganacl here. And I could switch into Torkoal here. I could just Glacial Lance. I could Protect. I think I'm fine clicking Glacial. Force them to Wide Guard. And if you Wide Guard, you just eat up the Choice Band Wicked Blow. But I think, yeah, the main problem for my opponent is I do not know what Thundurus really offers them here. Thundurus, a Pokemon that you generally want to use for speed control, right? So it's good for Thunder Wave, it's good for Taunt, but in this matchup, like, I think it's not very effective for my opponent. It's, I think, very poor into Ice Rider in particular. And I'm actually surprised that Tyranitar didn't make an appearance. I thought that would be pretty powerful in this matchup. So we force him to Wide Guard, but that's fine. Like I said, if basically by clicking Glacial Lance here, it's saying if you switch out Protect, then Glacial goes off into Thundurus. If you Wide Guard, it means that my Dark Urshifu is getting a Wicked Blow into that slot. So Choice Band Wicked Blow here, and that one-shots Garganacl. Beautiful. That's out of the way. Yeah, it's really nice because I think sometimes teams do feel baited into Ghost Harrying to get around Fake Out from Smeargle or Close Combat. Just Wild Bolt Storm here. It does decent damage, but not enough for a knockout or even a 2-hit knockout into either. I assume you bring out Origin Form Dialga now. I think you have to. Yeah. Okay. Dialga hits the field. I think here I'm happy to just click Wicked Blow into Dialga and Glacial Lance. There's 3 turns of Trick Room left. I just want to make sure I'm playing a little bit safe here. They already Terra'd. I guess, like, what if it's Min Speed Dialga here? You can't one-shot both of my Mons, though, I think. Yeah. If you outspeed Urshifu, I still get the Glacial off, and then I have Torkoal just Fire Terra Eruption, right? We had to click Wicked Blow last turn into Garganacl. I think the main debate here is this turn, do I want to consider Terraing either Pokemon? But Glacial one-shots Thundurus. Perfect. No Thunder Wave, which is really nice. I don't have to deal with the 25% chance of Para. Showing Nay. They are faster under Trick Room. And they do actually manage to knock out Calyrex. Alright, nicely done. But I don't think the... I mean, now Dialga is just, like, really, really useless. But it should feint to this. Yeah. So the idea is if you knock out Urshifu there, then I have Torkoal plus Ice Rider, right? And I think the main fear there was if they Thunder Waved Calyrex and or if Thundurus was, like... If you're max HP, max defense, I wonder if you could survive. But yeah. Treads now, super low. We can just Weather Ball, Wicked Blow. And I can Grass Terra with Urshifu as well. Oh, also Trick Room is still up, so they can't even protect. We don't need a Terra. Yeah. Cool. Dialga, I think a restrictor that maybe we'll see more use in Regulation I. It just, like, I think is mainly unique for telepathy. So next to an Earthquake user like Treads or Ursaluna can be kind of good. But yeah, I think in this game, Smeargle demonstrated how it can be disruptive with Spore in the early game. Garganacl was scary, but we, managed to knock it out really quickly. And then, like, I think if they had Garganacl with Dialga next to it or something more offensive, it could have been scarier. But because it was Garganacl and Thundurus, it's like these are both support Pokemon. Neither do damage, so you're basically exerting no pressure on my side of the field. So I don't really care for Wide Guarding because it means you're also not really accomplishing much damage-wise, right? Thundurus actually did okay damage with Wild Bolt Storm. Curious what kind of set it was or what item it was, but it still wasn't enough for a 2-hit knockout onto either of my main Mons. Whoa! Koraidon, but with Charizard. Charizard, of course, a international champion from this season. Hasn't seen any play really in this format. An international champion with Jumpluff, which is also on my opponent's team. I mean, this is a really cool take on Koraidon. It's not very common compared to the other Koraidon teams we've seen. But I love this. Double Sun as well is fascinating. And they have their own Torkoal. So I think Raging Bolt is a must bring in this matchup, right? We're up against like Jumpluff, Koraidon. Like Draco just does so much damage. I think it's likely for it to be Specs Flutter. Koraidon Charizard is one lead we have to respect. Charizard Jumpluff is one lead we need to respect. I think I like Smeargle more than Indeedee here because this is Fake Out, Sash, and Grass Terra, which can be used to get around Sleep Powder. So we'll go with these two. Raging Bolt. I guess the last one is interesting. It's like, there are 4 things that resist fire on the opposing side, but honestly, Specs Eruption probably still does over 50% to everything. So I'm thinking of still bringing Torkoal out here despite the number of resistances because there aren't that many actual resistances. Dark Ursh, like the upside of Dark Ursh is just getting Wicked Blow in close combat under Trick Room. I do think that's a good enough reason to bring it, so I'm gonna go for it. Basically, like, in a matchup like this, we really, and in general when you play with this team, like, you really want to win the game in those 5 turns of Trick Room that you have. And it's really like 4 turns, because obviously it takes a turn to set up. And so, what bringing Urshifu does for us is it threatens knockouts under Trick Room really effectively, right? And there's a lot of things that are relatively frail for my opponent's end as well. Okay, Charizard, Koraidon lead, that's fine. I think against this, I can just go fake out Fire Terra Trick Room turn 1. Yeah, that feels fine. The question is who to fake out. I think I don't mind fake out into Charizard. It actually does damage with Technician and Solar Power enough where maybe then a Glacial just finishes them off. Fake out Fire Terra Trick Room. Yeah, this seems fine. And then, yeah, the other logic behind bringing Urshifu over Torkoal is, like, I think Fire Terra is more unlikely on Torkoal in this game because I'm likely going to have to Terra the Calyrex like I'm doing here to get Trick Room up. And then if I don't get to Terra the Torkoal, then its Eruption isn't nearly as effective. But it's actually Protect on Koraidon on turn 1. Wow, okay. Is it double Protect? No. I don't know how they come back from this, honestly. I feel like this should just give me such a major advantage. Because how do you deal with Spore plus Glacial now across the board? Like, I think I'm happy to just Spore here in Glacial. I could Decorate this turn as well, but I think it's probably be better to Spore since Koraidon just revealed Protect. This could switch out into Jumpluff, but then Jumpluff's fainting unless you're Focus Sashed. Yeah, it's Flutter. I think the game's over. Their team is so fast-paced on offensive. The only thing that can help them here is bringing Torkoal out under Trick Room, but even then... I wonder if Glacial just KOs Charizard. Let's see. I think the fake out damage may have actually mattered there, which is why I was saying, yeah, I want to fake out Charizard, since I know I can take any attack from Koraidon anyway, right? Your best bet would be Life Orb, Fire Terra, Flare Blitz, Collision Course, Close Combat. None of those can KO me. But yeah, I think the lead I was most worried about was probably Jumpluff Charizard. What would I actually do against Jumpluff Charizard? It depends, because I probably need to respect the Covert Cloak. Torkoal comes out, that's fine. 3 turns of Trick Room left. I mean, I think I can just Spore here into Torkoal. Glacial Lance. They just Eruption us, that's fine. So much about this team is it's like you can take 1 or 2 big attacks as long as your Pokemon survive. That's all you need. But yeah, I think Jumpluff Charizard, crazy enough, actually would have been the scariest lead to go up against, because you pressure super effective damage, like you pressure Heat Wave Sleep Powder on turn 1. So then the play I would maybe consider is Protect, Grass Terra, Smeargle, and then Spore into Charizard. That seems pretty good, right? Protect, Grass Terra, Spore, Charizard, turn 2, follow me, Trick Room, and then play the game from there. I think that's what I would have done into Jumpluff Charizard. Right on out. You still haven't Terra'd, but yeah, I just think it's a little too late. 2 turns of Trick Room. We're at +2 attack. I am down to just click Spore into Koraidon here. Close combat into Torkoal. Yeah, Koraidon protects. Torkoal attempts to protect. So we actually get some information out of that. Close combat just KOs. Cool. Yeah, this last one was actually an example where it's technically more optimal to go for another move with Torkoal there so you don't reveal that you have Protect, because you have to take 1 turn of sleep here anyway, right? You can't wake up. So with them moving before Koraidon's Protect, it means like Torkoal's obviously going for, you know, priority move as well. I can just... You can do anything, really. Follow me here. Close combat. Yeah. And I think this is a good example of a game where Hard Trick Room just completely demolishes. Like, it honestly, there wasn't very much my opponent could have done, even if they had attacked on turn 1 with the Koraidon. If you attack, at least you get damage onto my Ice Rider, so that maybe then Torkoal can threaten me with damage under Trick Room. But yeah, I think Charizard Koraidon, like, Charizard really does not like going up against Trick Room, It's so frail. It normally wants to get one big attack off here, and that's why I launched that Fake Out turn 1 into it. And so, yeah, like, I'm trying to think what the best lead could have been for my opponent's end. I think, like, Jump Left Charizard could have been scary, but like I said, I still had a game plan for it, which is just protect Grass Terra Spore turn 1. The only thing that loses to is if Jump Left like went for an offensive attack onto Smeargle on turn 1, and often Jump Lefts don't even have any offense, and so yeah, I felt decent with that potential play. But yeah, I think Koraidon in general already struggles a little bit into Ice Rider, since you often feel forced to Terra just to deal with the Ice Rider alone. My opponent's team indexed like pretty heavily on Fire type damage, but with Fire Terra there, we just had pretty good defense into it, and yeah, with Trick Room up, it was just really hard to stop. We've got Kyogre here with Ursh, Rilla, Incin, Amoonguss, Tornadus. This is basically very standard for Kyogre in this format. Roaring Moon has often been used over the Tornadus slot to improve the Shadow Rider matchup, but the advantage of Tornadus is obviously being able to click that Rain Dance, which is really nice. Kyogre is normally going to be fairly bulky, so that's one thing we have to respect here. Covert Cloak Taunt Tornadus would also be kind of annoying. I think like Torn Ogre lead is actually really scary here. Against Torn Ogre, though, I could go Smeargle Calyrex, Fake Out Glacial turn 1 rather than Trick Rooming. It's just a question of whether or not I actually want to bring that Torque or not, because Torque obviously allows me to change the weather, but I think I prefer Bolt plus Urshifu. Could go NDD as well, but NDD feels really not great into Kyogre. So, yeah. I think when you're up against Kyogre, there's an argument for Torkoal, right? Like, one of the things we could do is, let's say they went Torn Ogre. I could lead, like, Bolt, Ice Rider, and then turn 1, switch Ice Rider out into Torkoal, Electric Terra, Thunderclap into Kyogre. So, I think there actually totally is merit to bringing Torkoal, but you have to feel pretty confident in it. And I think in a best of 1 environment, I'm not sure that's a play I want to rely on too heavily, since Kyogre might just go Grass Terra, for example, in the threat of Raging Bolt anyway. And then so it's like you're going all in on this play that doesn't even end up working out. And if it's Torn Ogre lead, for example, then they can Rain Dance the next turn. That's not great. But it's going to be Incin and Torn. Okay. I don't mind this too much. I think we can honestly just go Fake Out Incin Glacial turn 1. Yeah, that seems okay to me. Fake Out into you. Glacial. I'm not Trick Rooming here because they might go for Taunt with Tornadus onto Ice Rider. I think getting a knockout early on Torn is never bad. Accelerates the pace of the game. If they don't taunt us, turn 2, obviously I do threaten with Trick Room immediately. I think the main debate here is, should I be clicking Glacial or Trick Room on turn 1? Because I could go Fake Out Instant Trick Room, but then that's vulnerable to Torn taunting me, and then I lose a lot of value on turn 1. So the ideal setup here would be like I flinch Incin, I knock out Torn, and then Taunt goes out into Ice Rider, because then what I can do is angle to switch Ice Rider out into Raging Bolt, and then Spore Kyogre, which is presumably coming in afterwards. They're going to Terra here, though. I mean, if this is Ghost Terra, this is really smart. But it's Terra on Torn. Okay. Terra Dark. I mean, this is still smart. Gets around Glacial, dealing super effective damage. Okay. I'll Fake Out into Incin. They just go for Bleak Wind Storm. And we dodge it with Calyrex. Okay. Admittedly, very surprised to just see Bleak Wind there. Over Taunt. I think this is fine, though, right? Like, how do you deal with Follow Me into Trick Room? The main debate is whether or not I want to Terra this right now. Terra Grass on this is actually pretty helpful against Kyogre. And I can take a knockoff for a Flare Blitz. Yeah, I think I'm okay going just Follow Me here into Trick Room. Oh, I guess they'll get a Bleak Wind off against me, though. I mean, I don't think Bleak Wind knockoff or Flare Blitz KOs me, but I should probably just respect it. Yeah. Oh, they switch. Even better. Okay. Into Kyogre. Sure. The only downside of this is obviously I'm going for a Terra that's weak against Kyogre, but I think in this situation I was like, look, I just want to ensure that I set up Trick Room, and this like covers for Bleak Wind crits as well as knockoff or Flare Blitz crits. Although they probably don't have Flare Blitz given that you have Kyogre here. But this works, right? I should trade Smeargle for Trick Room, which is totally worth it. But yeah, I just wasn't expecting a turn 1 Dark Terra Bleak Wind. They actually go for Will-O-Wisp. Oh, wow. Smeargle dodges it. Okay. My main question is how fast this is Kyogre relative to us. I have Close Combat, which is great. I have Spore. I think actually what I don't mind going for here is Decorate into Protect. Sporing Kyogre would also be nice, right? But I think there's a decent chance we're just faster than Kyogre here. So I could switch into Bolt as well. I think clicking Decorate here, Protect is fine. Get a free switch in. They could protect Kyogre if they don't know how fast Smeargle is, right? Kyogre doesn't protect. It's knockoff into us. Yeah, they are faster. If we had Wide Guard here, it would have been perfect. I think I'd probably just go Wide Guard Close Combat. This is still fine. Okay. I am going to bring out Dark Urshifu. And I think what we do here is just aggressively target down the Kyogre. I'm going to go Wicked Blow into Kyogre and Close Combat into it. You can't Protect, you can't Terra. Their best bet would actually be to switch Kyogre out into Tornadus right now, and then Will-O-Wisp into Urshifu. The main thing is in this situation, I would think my opponent might feel safe with Kyogre, and exactly, yeah, they switch Instant out. Not expecting, like, super slow Choice Band Urshifu, right? Amoonguss does come out, though. But Close Combat here, plus Wicked should get the knockout. I didn't want to leave it to chance, by the way, and click, like, Glacial Lance there. Glacial actually would have been nice because it covers for the Amoonguss switch in, but yeah, this works out. Great. And I think my opponent's team kind of just folds once Kyogre faints, but we'll see. Amoonguss out in Trick Room actually is fairly annoying because now you have Fake Out plus Spore available. But the thing is, you just shouldn't really have that much damage left at this point in the game, right? 2 turns of Trick Room left. I have Safety Goggles Bolt, which is perfect here. So I think what we do is just bring out Bolt. Well, let's actually think this through. Who are they going to Fake Out? I'd probably Fake Out and Spore Calyrex. Switch out. I think I'm okay clicking Close Combat here, just burning a Sleep Turn with Calyrex. But Bolt should be really well positioned. Now I threaten Draco Meteor onto the instant slot, and I ignore Amoonguss, and this is part of the value of the Safety Goggles. So, yep. It is Fake Out into Calyrex. We flinch. And they Spore into Bolt. Okay, cool. They're also slower than us under Trick Room, which is great to confirm. You have Tornadus in the back. I could Glacial Lance here, obviously. Amoonguss could Protect. I think I'm okay going for just Close Combat here into Incineroar. Close Combat into Instant, like, it's a guaranteed knockout onto this slot, basically, right? Yeah. Okay, they don't protect Amoonguss, but it's still fine. I thought about Glacial Draco, but then I could miss Draco, and I also thought about Glacial Thunderbolt, but I wasn't 100% sure that would actually knock out the Incineroar. And I think if Instant survives, it's actually really annoying for us. Basically, my logic in this endgame is your last one is just going to be Tornadus. Tornadus is just going to fade to an attack from Raging Bolt, right? The Amoonguss is completely useless until the Raging Bolt, so once I knock out Tornadus, Dark Urshifu can come out and just deal with the Amoonguss, right? Okay. I actually did pretty good damage for a Thunderbolt, honestly. But yeah, I think the key turn in this game is getting that knockout onto Kyogre. My opponent could have actually protected the Kyogre that turn or switched Amoonguss in for another slot. Although their Amoonguss being speedier here also benefited me. So Torn comes out. I think Thunderbolt should just get it, but this duo just shouldn't have enough offense into us anyway. So we'll burn a turn of sleep here with Ice Rider, get the knockout onto Torn, and then we should be able to handle Amoonguss pretty effectively. In this game, we had, what, the Will-O-Wisp dodge on Smeargle. Would I have fainted from burn after that turn? I might have had too much HP, but if I actually wouldn't have minded Smeargle fainting there, because then it would give me a free switch in. It's going to be Weather Ball, which is cool, but no rain is up, so you do no damage with it. Yeah. Raging Bolt gets the Thunderbolt off. Beautiful. And this is why Raging Bolt is on the team, right? You really need it into your Kyogres and your Pelipper's. Sludge Bomb comes out, but yeah, I mean, that's a decent amount. That's actually, like, I wonder how much special attack investment Amoonguss has, because that feels like it has some. But now it's kind of just a ticking time bomb, right? Amoonguss can't really deal with Calyrex here. We also have Dark Ursh in the back. I've got Draco Meteor. So, maybe just get guaranteed damage with Thunderbolt here. And click Glacial Lance. Another Thunderbolt comes out. Gets a paralysis. But I think Draco probably KOs from this range. Calyrex takes another turn of sleep. And they get paralyzed. But yeah, I mean, like, Amoonguss is never winning this 1v3 with Choice Band Urshifu. We have tons of damage across the board. I'm just like, I might as well go for the guaranteed damage instead of risking a miss. But now I think Draco should just end the game. So, yeah. Cool. But it's like, even if Amoonguss, you know, didn't get paralyzed there, crit Sludge Bomb, it's still fine. Like, I really don't think there's much you can do from that position. So, yeah. Ultimately, though, I think this matchup was a little bit scary, mainly because like, that Fire Terra was preemptive just in case, like, anything really crazy happened, but it did open up a weakness to the Kyogre. So it may have been better for me to not Fire Terra, and I think if my opponent got Amoonguss under Trick Room a little bit sooner, that actually could have been really disruptive because I committed the Fire Terra. Like, I think the right way to approach this is actually probably using Terra on the Dark Urshifu so that I can become immune to Amoonguss and just, like, spam Wicked Blow under Trick Room or Close Combat. But by committing the Fire Terra meant, like, it did open up a weakness, and so this game could have played out differently if, for example, the Amoonguss hit the field earlier, or the turn I doubled up into Kyogre, like, protected or switched. I just felt, like, somewhat confident on that turn, because I was like, I think my opponent probably feels like their Kyogre can survive a double up and get an Origin Pulse off, and they might think that I'm even faster with Urshifu than them under Trick Room. But yeah, with us being min speed Ursh, basically, and having the combo of Ursh plus Close Combat, like Choice Band plus Slow plus Close Combat, I figured Kyogre here should probably feel safe, but it's not actually safe, and if I get the knockout here, I should just win, and that's basically what happened. Ooh, okay, this is a different take on Ice Rider. Whimsicott, Ice Rider, Frigoraph, Lando, Urshifu, Fluttermane. Huh. It reminds me a little bit of the Ice Rider team with Regieleki, that got top 8 at Worlds that we featured on the channel. Torkoal looks insanely powerful here under Trick Room, but we have to respect either Taunt from Whimsicott or Frigoraph reversing Trick Room. Frigoraph reversing Trick Room is actually, I think, the #1 thing to watch out for. If I'm my opponent, I'm going Landorus, Calyrex, Frigoraph +1. I'm probably dropping Fluttermane. I like leading Smeargle here. He does give me another Trick Room option, but I think Smeargle with Fast Spore and Sash is too good here to give up on. So Smeargle, Ice Rider, Torkoal, Urshifu. But yeah, I can see, like, I think the main thing that's concerning in this matchup is two different Pokemon on their end having Trick Room in the Frigoraph as well as Ice Rider. So we could get into this awkward war where basically I, like, set up Trick Room and then they just reverse it. Okay. They actually did bring Fluttermane, interesting. Okay, against this, you pressure with Taunt. It's probably Choice Specs Flutter, right? Didn't see a booster energy. Could be Icy Wind then. I'm leaning towards sporing here into Calyrex and Trick Rooming. I think it'd be kind of wild just see a Shadow Ball here. Yeah, I like this. Okay, they just Moonblast. Perfect. Great. Put the Calyrex asleep. You take turn 1 of sleep. You get Trick Room up. So the main thing here is that they could like try to just reverse Trick Room with Calyrex. I could go for Spore onto Flutter now, Glacial Lance. I think the play I actually like most is bringing out Torkoal, Protect here. If they get a 1-turn Wake, like, so be it. What else could I have done? Like, I could have gone Glacial here, but I wasn't confident that would one-shot Flutter Mane. I could have gone Spore Glacial onto the Flutter Mane, essentially. Flutter switches, yeah, that makes sense. Could be into a Goggles user or Whimsicott. It's going to be Frigoraph. Okay. This is the key turn. Does their Ice Rider wake up and reverse my Trick Room? If so, things get a lot more awkward. They stay asleep. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a little scary that it was like they had the chance to wake up there. I think now I can just send it. Fire Terra Eruption here. Thinking about close combating this slot. But I could just Glacial. I think Glacial is fine. It's mainly like either of these could Water Fire Terra right now and then potentially reverse Trick Room should they survive, right? So even if one thing faints and the other Pokemon has like 5% left, if it reverses Trick Room, it might be worth it for my opponent. Let's see. Right now, yeah, Torkoal's just in such a phenomenal position. And honestly, Torkoal's just insanely good into my opponent's entire team. There's like nothing that can reliably take Fire Terra Eruption, so you need a defensive Terra. I think if this turn, they're not able to reverse Trick Room, we win the game. But here's the defensive Terra. Who is it going to be is the question. It is going to be on Ice Rider. Interesting. Okay. Wait, but into Dragon Terror, you're just weak to Glacial Lance now. I'm really glad I clicked Glacial instead of Close Combat. Okay. Well, Eruption should just KO Frigoraph here, but let's see. Yeah, brilliant. Now Glacial single target into their Ice Rider, unless they are min speed and win a speed tie here. Yeah, perfect. Okay, Calyrex faints. Now you just bring out Flutter +1, but can't really do much with that combo, especially with it being Specs Flutter. So, yeah, pretty straightforward game. Get Trick Room up, basically. Get Torkoal out under Trick Room, win the game. Like I said, the key thing is can they reverse my Trick Room, and the answer was no. But had they gotten a earlier wake up, they may have been able to. That was like kind of the scariest part of this matchup. But both of these just full to Torkoal and Ice Rider under Trick Room. We still have 2 turns left as well, so yeah, Eruption Glacial. And they've already committed a defensive Terra as well, so it's not like Landers can really do much here either. So, yeah. Their team is just so fast-paced, right? Flutter, Lando, both are really speedy Mons. Lando, I guess, isn't the speediest, but it's still somewhat speedy. But this is why I really like that Smear Goal, because like it provides so many options. And seeing that it was in Booster Flutter made me less worried about Taunt. Taunt normally would be the concern from Flutter, but if you don't see Booster, like, you know, Specs is a decent assumption, or Sash. And so I was like, okay, if you don't have Taunt, then it means I can just Spore you. If I Spore you, it really shuts down one of your key pieces of dealing with my Ice Rider, right? But yeah, I think the main thing here is Calyrex not getting a 1-turn wake up. Well, that is going to be it for this one. We managed to climb up pretty high on the ladder with this, and I think this is definitely just one of the best teams in the format, and it is a really, really powerful one. And so, yeah, no surprise to see one of the best players in the world piloted to a first place victory at Regionals. So thanks so much as always for watching. Thank you to Michael for building and sharing this team, as well as all the people that collaborated with him, and hope you enjoyed this one as always. So yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.